All right, y'all. So, welcome once again. Like I said, welcome to the Riverside EpiCenter Epic Talks Lunch and Learn series. Thanks for taking the time to join us because this conversation is very, very important. I'm sure that Alzheimer's and dementia is something that has affected each and every one of us. Or if we don't know anybody personally, I'm sure we know somebody who knows somebody. Because that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about dementia, brain health, caregiving awareness, and advocacy. In that area, because dementia is just a little bit more than just occasional forgetfulness, right? It's a broad term that describes changes in memory, thinking, reasoning, decision making, that can begin to interfere with a person's daily life. While dementia directly affects the person who is diagnosed, it also impacts all of the rest of us. You know, the spouses, the children, the relatives, friends, caregivers, and the overall entire support system that you may have for that individual. So today is all about education. Education helps us to recognize the symptoms, to ask better questions, to seek the appropriate care, guidance, and hopefully, to reduce the stigma surrounding this condition. And of course, today's discussion is especially meaningful because not only is June my birthday month, it's also Alzheimer's Awareness and Brain Awareness Month. So that's super duper important. And of course, the awareness color is my favorite color, which is purple. So there we are with that. And having said all of that, I just want to let you know that we have our amazing and esteemed guest here this afternoon, Mrs. Linda Michelle Trainer. She's a certified dementia practitioner, caregiver, advocate, encourager, coach, and author. Her work focuses on helping caregivers understand while they are caring for someone they love, their own emotional, spiritual, and physical well-being also matters. And of course, joining her right alongside there is Mr. C. Nathaniel Brown. He's also a certified dementia practitioner, and he is the founder and executive director of Expose Dementia Inc., and as well as an award-winning filmmaker, best-selling author, writer, and professional storyteller. So everybody, please give us a warm welcome and round of applause for our guests this afternoon. Yeah, just pick a chair.
All right.
Yeah. So before we dig into the presentation, I just have a few questions for you so that way we can give a baseline to the audience here about who you are, what you do, and why you do what you do.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. Again, I am Linda Michelle Trainer, global encourager, best-selling author, international flight attendant, and a widow of a man who spent 12 years battling with Alzheimer's. Before that, almost 12 years with my mama, grandmother, mother-in-law, and uncle. So I know the other side of this, and I also know the glory and the power of God and how his word is real and how we have to implement it in real action in real time in order to live the life that he has ordained for us.
So my name is C. Nathaniel Brown. That's my Hollywood name. My family and friends call me Chuck, so you're my family and friends. Chuck is what it is. I've been hit hard with Alzheimer's, dementia, and usually I say dementia because in my family we've been hit by different types of dementia, which you'll hear a little bit more about as well. But just last week, my aunt, who was the inspiration for me getting into this space, passed away. She lost her battle with Wernicke-Korsakoff syndrome, and that is basically one type of dementia that is caused by alcoholism and vitamin B deficiency. And so we won't get into a lot of the details on some of those things, but please keep my family in your prayer. In addition to my aunt who just passed, I have 3 other family members with different types of dementia right now. And so this collective experience has caused me to say, what can I do to help? Because I didn't have any of the information when my family was going through it. And so once I learned the information, I felt like I was obligated, I was called, it was part of my purpose, which I didn't know at the time, but now I understand what God was doing when he said, hey, your voice needs to be heard in this area.
So I just have a couple of questions, and then we're going to start the clock and let you guys take it away. Tell us why advocacy and getting this information out is so important to each of you. And also, why is it so important that we gather in spaces and places like this to be able to do this kind of work?
I was lost when it hit home with my husband. My mom was in Michigan. I live here in Georgia with my husband, and I'm a flight attendant based in Newark. I had my two sisters, and one of my sisters was a nurse. And so she helped kind of navigate the things with Mom. In Michigan, we had the University of Michigan Hospital up there. I was introduced to Teepa Snow, so there were a lot of resources, but then it came here to my household. And I didn't see some of the symptoms in my husband until my sister started saying, I started sharing some of the things. It's like, Robert's doing this, and they said, well, you know what, Mama's doing the same thing. So it was vital for me and so important for me to get the resources from the Alzheimer's Association, from just all the Teepa Snow, the videos, but I wanted it to look like me. I wanted it to be where I could understand it and I could relate. So Holy Spirit wrote a book through me that I'm been able to share, but it is vitally important because I realized it is not only about my mother, my grandmother, my uncle, my mother-in-law, or my husband. It was about me. Because if I wasn't healthy, when I was too tired, when the caregiver suffers, everybody suffers. So it is vitally important for us to understand that we have a vital role in this.
I think the biggest thing for me, my late Bishop Otis Carswell, who was in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, one of the things that he taught us in the School of Ministry, he said, when you learn something, you have a responsibility and an obligation to teach someone. And so I always remember that and held on to that. And I know that we are to bear the burdens of one another. And so one of the things that I posted on Facebook a few years ago is that you don't have to do everything, just do your part. And so my part is to advocate for those who don't have a voice or who haven't found a way to express themselves and to help them do that. And so I do it starting with myself being vulnerable, sharing my flaws, telling my stories, and letting other people know that your stories are just as important as anybody else's. And so we want to be able to create those spaces and do things to be able to help people who are living with dementia, who are interested in learning about brain health, who are caring for people in those situations. And we want to be able to create more space for them to rest and for more people to be able to learn. And because we understand that as long as you're learning and you're growing, you're living. Once I was really impacted by this and I realized that I didn't know anything about dementia, I wanted to learn more for myself. I'm a lifelong learner, so I did. And then I took that same principle that I had to share it. I'm a filmmaker, I'm a creator, I'm a storyteller. So I said, how can I do that? So I created this documentary that shares the stories of people living with dementia, care partners, experts in the field, to be able to help other people to be better than I was at that point. And so this short trailer is of the documentary that hopefully we'll be able to come back here to the EpiCenter and show the entire thing. But we want you to at least get a glimpse of it so you can understand a little bit about how it's impacting us. And then we'll go into a little bit more of the specifics of some of the information and then helping you to understand where you can improve and reclaim your brain as well.
So millions of Americans are currently living with Alzheimer's or other forms of dementia.
African Americans are disproportionately impacted by Alzheimer's disease.
Research shows Alzheimer's is affecting African Americans at a much higher rate than white Americans.
But African Americans are less likely to get an actual diagnosis of their condition, which means less time for treatment and planning.
Experts in Wisconsin are taking a hard look at the systemic issues that exist in dementia patients. And as Sean Gallagher shows us, it's something that impacts people of color at a much higher rate.
I really wish that I could just have one more just heart-to-heart conversation with her where she knew me and knew who I was. And we could just talk like we used to. If I could just have one more.
And when I got here in Georgia, I came with full aspect. I could sing, I could play, go to church. I can't sing anymore. Can't play my guitar anymore. I've been sick a few times.
By 2030, nearly 40% of individuals that will be diagnosed with dementia, like Alzheimer's disease, will be Black or Latino. This is how this disease is attacking our community, and we're not talking about it.
What we're going to talk about today is reclaiming your brain. And what does that mean? What does that look like? How do you do that? What are the things you should be thinking about and focusing on? So we're going to break this into two sections. Linda Michelle is going to begin, kind of give us an overview, a little bit more of what Corey was sharing about what dementia is, the types of dementia, risk factors, etc. And then I'll talk about the 6 pillars of brain health and what does that mean and what does that look like for you?
About the brain. Your brain controls everything, our thinking, our memory, our emotions, our movement, our decision makings, and our relationships. Our brain even controls whether we give up when our voices start acting up or not. What is brain health? It's the ability to learn, to remember, to think clearly, make decisions, maintain well-being, and function independently. And what is dementia? Dementia is not a disease. It is an umbrella term describing symptoms that affect memory, thinking, reasoning, language, and daily function. As in the documentary, you'll hear that there are over 100 types of dementia. In normal aging, dementia is not a part of normal aging. Everybody is not destined to have dementia just because you get old. Normal aging, occasionally forgetting names, but dementia is frequently forgetting important information. Misplacing items. How many people have misplaced their keys or their calendars? Dementia is losing items and being unable to retrace your steps. And slower processing speed. That's normal aging, where things just kind of slow down. It takes you a few minutes and you have to think. I also contribute stress to that. We have so many things going on in our life, so many different things that we're responsible for, so many people we're responsible for, so it takes a little bit longer to kind of put those things together. That's normal aging, but with dementia, it's significantly difficult to completing familiar tasks. Bathing, eating, using the microwave, and normal aging, occasional word finding difficulty. Dementia is persistent language problems. Some of you may have heard about when a person has dementia, they just mix their words together, and they call that spaghetti language. And you really have to pay attention to hear. That's dementia. Just occasionally forgetting, trying to remember a word or a term, that's normal aging, and there is a difference. There are over 100 types of dementia, and Chuck mentioned one that his aunt has gone through. And there's the risk factors. It's all about moving our body, physical inactivity, smoking, hypertension, diabetes, obesity, excessive alcohol. And I really believe that that's one of the ones that my husband had. Depression, hearing loss, social isolation, air pollution, high LDL cholesterol, vision loss, traumatic brain injury, and low educational attainment. Also dental health. Our dental health plays a great part of risk factors in getting dementia. What can we do about it? I'm going to start by just sharing my testimony. First of all, you're doing the first step by getting more information. You're doing the first step by getting up this morning, by taking care of yourself, by learning and making a decision that I need this information. I'm going to get this information, I'm going to implement it. My testimony is, like I said, it started with my grandmother who had a mastectomy. She went to the hospital, and when she came back, she was perfectly fine. When she came back, I believe because of the medication, she started acting up, started not understanding, becoming very combative. That didn't know anything about Alzheimer's then. Then it was my mother-in-law in New Jersey who just started slowing down, started eating things that were not healthy, mixing things, eating spoiled foods because she lived by herself, just doing things that were not in the norm. Then my uncle, who started seeing people in the mirror. He started seeing and hearing voices. He was a Vietnam vet. He was the best uncle in the entire world. So to try to decipher what was going on, we didn't know without the education and the information. And then it was my mama. And it was amazing because my mother was my cheerleader. And one of the first signs that I knew something was wrong was I went to a retreat here in Georgia, a women's retreat, and I brought my mama here from Michigan. And I was on the program to share my testimony. And I had been abused by an uncle growing up. Mama knew that. I had made the mistakes of giving a baby back out of a wounded spirit. So my mother had heard that testimony many times over. I shared it that night, and afterwards, I was so thankful to have my mama here with me. I went up to hug her, and she said, "Oh, you're so hot." That was number one. I didn't understand. And then the next day, in the private room with another sister friend that I brought, that sister friend also shared her testimony that she was abused by a father. My precious mama, who was a cheerleader to all of us, told my precious friend, "It was probably your fault." That was not my mama. I didn't understand even then. Fast forward, having problems with her bills, running out of money. There are 5 of us. I'm in Michigan. I had 4 other siblings that live close to Mama. We're all giving Mama money at different times and not knowing it. Mama cables goes off, Mama's phone bill goes off, different things like that. We didn't understand what was going on until we all sat down. And I was at our house one day, and a process server came to serve foreclosure papers on Mama. It's like, okay, what's going on? We all came together, and we realized that she had been going to the casino, spending her money, not calculating, not understanding anymore what the process was. That started a long, hard journey for all of us. She resisted, but my goodness, it came to the point where she agreed and she knew that she could no longer be by herself. So I praise God for that. But it was my sisters, the education that my sister, the nurse, got us the book, The 36-Hour Day. Tipa Snow. We were taking my mother to a program at the University of Michigan Hospital Respite Program where it would give my sister a break and me a break. But my mother would start talking about the people there. She was just not my mother. So we realized going to the doctors, what was taking place, her blood pressure had gone up. She had asthma, so there were a lot of things that contributed to it. And then she was finally diagnosed. Full forward to my husband. We were in Hawaii. Beautiful trip, had planned it. We get there, and we leave our bags in the hotel room. We go to the Ross, Dress for Less, love it. Find a pair of shoes and sunglasses. It's like, baby, let me borrow the money to get that until we get back to the hotel. This man who I knew loved me for over 20 years started yelling at me at the top of his lungs. And then he took it out to the street. I told him, I'll give you the money back. You're always having problems with money. You never know how to manage money. On and on and on and on and on. It wasn't him. For 2 hours in Hawaii, this man was yelling at me. It was not him. Come home, take him to the doctor. The doctor says, well, you all said that you were going through some marital problems. So it's just marital problems. I started watching him not being able to work his cell phone, not being able to work the GPS. This man, you can drop him in the middle of wherever and he would get his way out. He was a hunter, loved hunting, loved sports. He was excellent when it came to direction. He started losing his direction. And I took him back and I told my doctor, we're not going to move from here until you tell me what's going on. And sure enough, he was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. Going back to my mama, and this is what I want you all to hear. This is why we're here. One day at my mom's in Michigan, I was her power of attorney. We had to go to court to fill out the paperwork. That was due yearly. I, with my brilliant self, I was going to plan everything in one day, overload, get mama in the car, take her to see her sisters, get lunch, go see the kids, see the grandkids, go to the court, do all this, and then come back home. When we got home later that day, which was too late, my mother said, "This is not my home. I'm not getting out the car." It was in Michigan. I was tired. It was late. And she refused to go into the house. I had to calm my nephew down. But in the meantime, while my nephew was coming down, I said, "Okay, Mama, we have to go." And I grabbed her purse. I reached for her purse because a lot of us will follow our purse, right? My mother scratched me so hard. I was angry. I got out of the car from the driver's side and I went around to the passenger side. It's like, "Come on, lady, we got to go upstairs." And she said, "I'm not going anywhere." I turned my back and I shut the door. I went to slam the door. Her hand came out. And she was getting ready to get out the car. And praise God, I was able to catch the door. I was ready. I was angry. I was depleted. I didn't have patience. I was tired. Mama was tired. Praise God, that door didn't slam on our hands. But I want you to hear the testimony in that. I was tired. She was tired. And I was not thinking. I was angry. We are human. We are human beings caring for human beings. But it has to start with us. Your well-being is a prerequisite for the well-being of those around you. Your well-being is a prerequisite for the well-being of those around you. I was blessed to be introduced to Chuck by another person that's in the documentary, and even what I've learned, even being filmed and a part of that documentary, helped me to understand more what was going on with my husband. There's something called the dementia experience, which we will definitely talk more about with our time here at the EpiCenter and the respite program that we are so blessed to be able to bring here shortly. I learned that even loud noises, shutting the drawer, when my husband would say, "Why are you making so much noise?" I didn't realize that the sensory mechanisms were off. There's so many things that we have to learn, but it starts with us. It starts with us. As a flight attendant, now in here, as a flight attendant, what is the one thing that they teach you, that we share with you in the demo? Put on your oxygen mask first. Put on your oxygen mask. But your oxygen mask doesn't have to be a physical mask. It can be a shower. It can be just a walk around the plaza. It could be an exercise. It could be coming here to the EpiCenter. It could be whatever you need it to be. But you got to put it on first so you can take care of you.
How many of you in here know someone who is experiencing or has experienced dementia? Just by a show of hands. That's probably 85% of you. So you understand the crucial time that we're in, because those numbers are only going to increase, right? And most of us in here are of the age that we have either had concerns or questions about losing our keys or forgetting our way home or something that made us think about whatever knowledge that we have about dementia. Is it in me? Is it going to happen to me? How many have been diagnosed with cognitive impairment or any type of dementia? Okay, several people in here as well. So you understand what that process is like. In the trailer of the documentary, I started getting emotional again. So the documentary I watched about 1 million times. We've traveled all over the country showing it, having Q&A, doing different things. But this was the first time I had seen it since my aunt died. That was my aunt and my cousin in the documentary just then. And it hit me differently. So there are so many things that happen in the course of this journey that will change who you are and what you do. And every time I look at myself first. And so that's what we want you to do. And so when we talk about what can we do, we're going to talk about the 6 pillars of brain health. You saw the list of risk factors. When my mother watched the documentary for the first time, she watched it with my cousin who was in the documentary and my other cousin who had multiple mini strokes, a major stroke, and started exhibiting symptoms of dementia, and she is only 42 at the time. So yes, it happens a lot earlier than we typically think in our community. So you can actually start having things happening in your body 20 years before you actually see symptoms. So when you see someone who has dementia symptoms or things like that, there were things in our bodies that were happening long before we started seeing those symptoms. And so we want to be able to jump ahead of that and get information to learn. But then even if we are in the process, if we have been diagnosed with dementia or have cognitive impairment, these things that we're going to talk about helps you. So these aren't things like, oh, I should have started when I was 20. Yeah, we should have. But no matter where you are in the process, you still need to do these things. So let's talk about them. So there's a Lancet Commission report that was released in 2024, and the Alzheimer's Association released the results that said almost half, 45% of dementia cases could possibly be reduced, wiped away by modifying those risk factors that was listed on the screen. So the alcohol, the smoking, managing your diabetes, managing your cholesterol, eating better, all of those things. And so when we talk about the 6 pillars of brain health, different organizations have different numbers of things that they say to do. I believe the AARP said these 14 things, which would include some of those risk factors on the other side. So stop smoking, do these things. So they list 14. The 6th that I'm going to show you kind of incorporates all of those things. So this is not the only list, but it's a start for you to get healthier, to pay attention to these things. So what are these 6 pillars of brain health? Brain stimulation. For those who were a part of the mixer earlier, you were stimulating your brain. We'll talk a little bit about that. Physical exercise, social engagement, healthy diet, quality sleep, reducing stress. Those are what's considered the 6 pillars of brain health. And we're going to talk about each of those in a little more detail. So brain stimulation, let me ask this first. How many of you are active with your brain? Challenge your brain. To learn new languages, do crossword puzzles. All of those things are helpful because, as Linda Michelle said earlier, this is your CPU, your central processing unit of your entire body. So you need to work on it. You need to feed it. You need to educate it. You need to challenge it so that it can actually communicate with the rest of your body. So these things help. I've also started doing hand exercises. Does anybody do hand exercises or hand challenges? Okay, I see a couple of people doing it. Yeah, just different things. Hold this for a second. So you can do things like try to do this. Or what's the other one they do? So like this, and then you switch it. See how I can? But when you start practicing these things, you're challenging your brain. And so there are like 100 or so of these different hand exercises that you can do. Thank you. So one of the things that I do in the morning, before I get out of the bed, I'll do hand exercises. Your doctor will tell you, wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes. That's stimulating your brain. And we overlook the simple things that we can do because we feel like, oh, I'm overweight and I have to lose 100 pounds. Okay, work toward it. Lose a couple pounds. So, but all of those things with your brain, you want to be able to do as many little things as you can to help you out. And it helps in these other areas as well. But reading, music. How many of you like music? Use music. One of the things that I started to do as well, I write everything, but I've always written lyrics, but I never published them or anything. So I found this AI. Don't come for me if you don't like AI, but I found this AI app that I can put my lyrics into this app and it creates a song for me from my lyrics. So now I'm challenging myself to write more because it's helping my brain and now I'm creating music that I can listen to. I'm remembering the words that's challenging my brain. So there are a lot of things that you can do to help your brain continue to stay strong, continue to develop, and you want to challenge it. So don't always go to, you know how you have the word searches and you circle the words? That's good. But how is it challenging your brain? Right? It's not really challenging. But if you do crossword puzzles, if you do trivia, if you do things like that, like continue to do it, because you don't want to get, so this, when I showed you this, I can do this one easy because I've mastered that. Now I'm working on the ones that are challenging me. So I'm continuing to learn and continuing to stimulate my brain.
I want to add one other one. Using your opposite hand to brush your teeth in the morning. Simple. Simple.
So there are several people online with different platforms that will explain these things and teach you these things. But one of the things when it comes to using your opposite hand, they said do something for 10 days in a row with your opposite hand. So if it's brushing your teeth, if it's eating, if it's doing your buttons, whatever it is, use your non-dominant hand. And that, again, it challenges you. And then once you feel you've mastered that, do something else. And we'll have plenty of time for Q&A. So if you have questions, we'll definitely address those as well. The second one is a healthy diet. There are a million different diets that you can do. This is one of my areas of challenge. And the reason being is because I love pizza. Don't hate me, but I could eat pizza 3 times a day, 7 days a week. But I know I can't because I'm trying to live healthier. I'm trying to get more vegetables and fruits in my life, which is a challenge. But I was just sharing with Linda Michelle earlier, I'm going on 2 weeks. Now, you might not say this is big news, but I'm going on 2 weeks of eating at least 1 serving of fruit and 1 serving of vegetables per day.
That deserves a round of applause, everyone.
If you know me, you should be celebrating for real. But again, I'm challenging myself to do better in all of these areas. So I'm not telling you something that I'm not doing myself. I'm not telling you something like I got it all together, because I don't. But we need to pay attention to it. We do need to get those leafy green vegetables. We do need to get that fruit. We do need to reduce the saturated fats and all of those things. But you have to do it at your pace. Every little step you make is improving your health, right? The more you can get those vegetables, the fruits, lay off of, certain foods that you know aren't good for you. So when we talk about all of those risk factors, this is a big area that we have a lot of those risk factors in our community. The high blood pressure, the diabetes, the stress when it comes to food. Some of it is our fault and some is not. Because a lot of times we're in food deserts. We don't have access to certain things, all of those things. So we know that there are battles when it comes to each of these things. But when we know better, we do better. And so if you can't have access to fresh greens every day and you have to get frozen, if you have to get canned, it's better than the alternative. So do what you can with what you got. Restorative sleep. How many of you got 7 to 9 hours of sleep last night? 3, 4. Okay. Yet, when we asked the question about how many of us know someone with dementia or going through dementia, it's 85% of us in here, right? Sleep is very important. The recommended amount of time is 7 to 9 hours. I didn't get 7 to 9 hours last night. Another area of challenge for me. I had an appointment this morning, a virtual appointment with a sleep study to be able to figure out, I know partly why, but why am I not sleeping? I'm doing all the things that you're saying. Go to bed earlier, put the phone down, use this light, cover your eyes. So there are things that we can do to help. But when you can't and something else is going on, figure out what it is. How many of you have ever done a sleep study to determine if you have sleep apnea?
Great.
Sleep apnea is another one of those areas that is underrepresented, underreported in our community because we just don't pay attention to it. And that's one of the reasons that we're not getting oxygen to the brain. If you don't get oxygen to the brain, those brain cells die. And then you begin to have brain fog. You begin to be sleepy during the day. You begin to fit things. You become disoriented. All of those things because we're not getting adequate sleep. So we need to pay attention to that. I used to be one of the ones that said, I'll sleep when I die. I'm good. I didn't know I was getting closer to death every time I said that. And so now I'm behind the 8 ball trying to play catch up, but now I understand the importance of sleep. When you sleep those 7 to 9 hours, it flushes the toxins from your brain. It's almost like a reset. So when you don't get that, you're on overload. Your brain is not stopping. It's not getting a chance to filter out those toxins that are affecting your brain in all of those areas. And so if you think about it that way, figure out what you need to do to get better. I will tell you this. I have not gotten that 7 to 9 hours on a regular basis, but I've gotten more than I did. And so again, we're talking about improving where you are and doing better until you reach that goal, and then you continue to maintain that.
One thing that I'd like to add here, I am seeing a functional medicine doctor that I've seen for the last 20 years, and because of hormonal factors, a lot of women will wake up during the night. She has put me on melatonin with my magnesium and then some other things. Go check with your doctor. If you have questions, if it's not working, go ask the questions to your primary care physician and then do the research.
Absolutely. Reducing stress. How many of us no, don't raise your hand. I don't even. As a people, we are more stressed than any other group because of so many factors. Financially, racially, socially, you name it, we're more stressed than anybody. And stress is connected to some of the highest risk factors that we see. So it's very important to reduce that stress. What does that look like for you could be different than what it looks like for me. But again, I love music. I can't sing a lick, so I thank God for that AI voice that's singing my songs. But I love listening to music. It calms me. I love painting now. Might never sell a painting, but when I do it, it reduces that stress. Getting a massage, going for a walk, sitting by water, getting some aromatherapy, whatever it takes for you to release that stress because it's contributing to your health. Good or bad, if you're reducing it, it's improving your health.
Even gardening. I live in an apartment, but I have a container garden, and I'm loving it.
Absolutely. So you'll find what works for you, but find it. Walk away from things that you know upset you, because when you stress, what happens? Your blood pressure goes up. Now you've entered another risk factor to you possibly developing cognitive impairment. So you want to be able to address these things, especially when you know they connect, right? And so when Linda Michelle was talking about being tired when she was caring for her husband and her mother, she was adding stress to herself and not taking care of herself. And so as we talk about being advocates, this is one of the reasons that we're creating programs so that we can make sure that we provide those opportunities to reduce that stress in caregivers. Because there's a statistic that says 55% of caregivers die before the person they're caring for. And the reason being is because we don't think about ourselves because like, we got to do for them. We got to care for them. We got to do all these things. And so what we want to be able to do is reduce the stress on the people living with dementia and reduce the stress on the caregivers. Both of the quality of lives will improve from that. Even if it's just an hour, 2 hours, 4 hours, whatever it is, it's important. So how many have ever had a massage and was like, wow, this feels amazing, right? It improved your condition in that moment. That doesn't mean you have it every single day. So whenever you get an opportunity, you want to do that. So figure out what works for you. Sometimes it might be just to get away from everybody else. Other times it might be to get around people that can give you that good positive energy and feedback, which we'll talk about shortly. Exercise. I saw that during the mixer, they were exercising as well. Chair exercises are fantastic. So no matter what age you are, no matter what your condition is, you can do something. So my mother right now, she is the last sibling without dementia. 2 years ago, her brother died from Alzheimer's. Last week, one of her sisters died from Wernicke-Korsakoff syndrome. Her other remaining sibling, we don't know what she has, but she's in denial. Her children are in denial. We can't get them to do anything. And so my mother said, I got all of those risk factors. Am I going to get it tomorrow? You're adding stress. What has your doctor told you to do? Okay, you need to exercise? Do your exercise. Okay, you need to eat better? Eat better. Don't add stress to it, but do what you can do. She has circulation issues in both legs. So she's required to ride a stationary bike and do leg stretches with the elastic bands. I forget what they call them, but she's required to do those things, or amputation is possible, or you're going to get blood clots, or some other thing. So it's a condition or a combination of things that can impact her health, but it helps to exercise. So no matter where we are, and again, remember, 20 years before things start happening. So we want to be able to start early as possible, but start wherever you are, because it makes a difference. Social engagement, I mentioned this a little bit earlier. Sometimes you just need to be around like-minded, like-spirited people to have conversations, to pick up on that spirit and that energy that boosts you. And if you find yourself in a place where it's not a good fit, leave it. If it's draining you of that energy, but if it's building you up, now you're talking about things that you wouldn't have talked about earlier. You're learning about things that you wouldn't have learned on your own. You're communicating and you're supporting one another in those social environments. So social engagement is very important. And as we get older, we tend to drift away from people. Oh, now, since we've gone through COVID, I don't have to go to church. I can still watch online. Or I used to go to these gatherings, the 55 mixer, every month. Now I don't go. It's just, okay. It's very important to your overall health. It's very important to your brain health specifically, which is going to connect to all the other areas in your body. All right, so we're just going to go over a couple of key takeaways. We're going to open up the questions for questions. We want to be able to touch on any and every area that you have, so we wanted to leave as much time as possible during this lunch and learn, because if we can't help you, we know a lot of people who can help you as well. Robin Reed is here from the Alzheimer's Association. She has some pamphlets with information. We have several other colleagues that we work with on collaborative programming to be able to help you, direct you to certain individuals, organizations, businesses, etc. But we can answer a lot of your questions. And if we can't, we'll make sure we get your information and pass you in the right direction. Okay, so here are our key takeaways. Number one, dementia is not a normal part of aging. In the documentary, I don't know if you guys recognize Lou Gossett Jr. in the trailer of it, but one of the things that he says in the documentary is that, dementia is just a part of what we experience when we get older. It is not. But that's what we've been taught and what we learn. It is not a normal part of aging, and dementia is not a disease. Dementia is a set of symptoms, okay? All of those other types, Alzheimer's and Lewy body dementia and Parkinson's with dementia and Wernicke-Korsakoff, those are what cause that dementia. Does that make sense? So one of the things that I tell people, if your doctor diagnoses you, which is not really a diagnosis, with dementia, the first thing you should ask is what kind or what type, okay? because something is causing that dementia. And when you don't find out what's causing it, how can you effectively treat it? Right? And in our community, we didn't know what my aunt had until I made my cousin go and say, ask the doctor what kind. Because all we ever knew in the family was dementia. Why? Because we never talked about it. We swept it under the rug, closed the door. All right, moving on. Alzheimer's disease is the most common type of dementia. What's the statistic? 70%? 75% of all cases are Alzheimer's. Okay? As I mentioned earlier, up to 45% of dementia cases can possibly be prevented by addressing those risk factors. The 6 pillars support long life brain health. So you want to be actively working on all of those areas of the 6 pillars. Okay? It doesn't mean you have to perfect them, but you want to consistently be working on them. And then finally, it's never too early and it's never too late to start. So wherever you are in your process, whether you have diabetes, high cholesterol, you have cancer, you have anything, is never too late to start. And if you feel like you're too young, it's never too early to start. Thank you.
Absolutely. I do want to add to my functional medicine doctor told me that lifestyle trumps genetics all day long. Lifestyle trumps genetics all day long. So what we presented here is true. And you are, even if you are young and you're going through perimenopause, if you're going through any of that, it can resemble a lot of brain fog, a lot of things that frightens you. Get the answers. Go to your doctor and ask the questions. When my husband, when I told you, he first went to his doctor, he told me it was a marital problems, and I went back. He was diagnosed during COVID to have Alzheimer's, but because it was during COVID, he had to do it in-house instead of at the hospital. He didn't answer the questions correctly. He just kind of half answered them and rushed through them. So they diagnosed him with Alzheimer's, which I knew at the time was not Alzheimer's. It was early, it was Lewy bodies at the time. He had a lot of different alcohol-induced dementia. There were a lot of things that we found out coming out, but it was trial and error. And he went through being kicked out of 2 nursing homes because they did not understand what was going on, which caused more stress for me. And that's why it's so important that you have to take care of yourselves.
Does anyone have any questions?
Behind me.
Hi. If you're taking a medication and one of the possible side effects could be loss of memory, and you're practicing the 6 pillars, once you stop taking the medication, could it reverse whatever damage has been done?
Yeah, so one of the things that I recommend often is to talk to your pharmacist. So I don't know if most of you know, you can actually go to your pharmacist and say, or even your primary care physician and say, here are the medications that I'm taking. How do they complement each other? How do they conflict with one another? Things like that. Because we have seen a lot of cases where medication causes symptoms, and people think they have dementia, but it was simply a conflict in medication. And so, yes, sometimes you can reverse that by medication. And as you mentioned, when we see those commercials, take this, side effects include, it's like, wow. So I just want to remove a headache, yet I have these 29 different things. So that's very common. And when you start adding things, and I don't want to get on the health system because there might be some nurses and doctors in here, but the first thing that they do when we go somewhere, I have this, prescription. And so you're piling all of that into your system, and what you want to be able to do is to find out, how can I deal with this without this medication? If I need the medication to manage the condition, take the medication. Like, that's one of the things that we don't do. But when we find out something is different, something is wrong, question it. You're your biggest advocate. We will advocate for you all day, every day, but you're your biggest advocate. So have the conversation and say, I'm feeling this way. What can I do? Can you look at this? Can you review my medication? That will be a great start.
All right, we have another question down in the center.
I have, with over 100 different causes of dementia, how does one know which type of cognitive evaluation they really need, and how long is reasonable to wait for proper diagnosis? Because I have been diagnosed with primary progressive alopecia. And I'm like, okay, I passed everything, all the other tests that the doctor did, but I didn't pass the vocabulary test. So based on a vocabulary test, you want to prescribe Mamitine, and Mamitine is for Alzheimer's. You didn't tell me I had Alzheimer's. So I'm waiting with Emory, which I've got an appointment with them for a second opinion. But that's not until 2027.
Oh, wow.
That's like excessive. Yeah. So I'm like, wow, okay. So I made an appointment to see my primary care doctor. Like you said, I went to the doctor that wrote down what I just told you. And I'm like, well, what am I going to do here? You know, I don't feel like I'm, because my son-in-law said, well, from last year to this year, are you, I'm like, well, I wouldn't know. I mean, they said, I have this cognitive degenerative, this progressive. That's a huge word. And so I'm, between the appointment with him, July 10th, the appointment with my primary care doctor, which I made yesterday, July 28th, I'm sitting out here in limbo with this test that I need to take as a second opinion with Emory, but that's not until June 21st, 2027. So I'm sorry,
No apologies necessary.
Yeah.
I would say the first thing is this. Those 6 pillars, work on those.
Okay.
Really work on those. Now, when it comes to the physicians and the process, unfortunately, that's what happened.
Yeah.
And it happens to us more than anybody else. We're delayed. My cousin, the one that I told you that's 40, I don't know what she is now. She might be 44. I'm going to share this quick story. And this is going to, I know this isn't your story, but the process. She sat on the bed at 9:30. She had a meeting to go to. She put one pants leg in. And next thing she knew, it was 1:30 in the afternoon. Same position, everything. She has no recollection of the time. She was telling her doctor, I'll be forgetting this, stuff is everywhere. The doctor tells her, oh, don't worry about it. You're still young. We'll worry about it when you get older and it gets worse. Like, what? So what I told her, and I'm not telling you this, but hear me. I told her, go back and talk to your doctor. Tell them that's unacceptable. Take somebody with you. Advocate for yourself. Find somebody to advocate for you. And if that doesn't work, fire them. Find somebody else. That's how we need to advocate for ourselves and be that aggressive with it. Now, there is a shortage across all of the major fields that deal in this space. Neurologists, speech pathologists, neurosurgeons, neuropsychologists. So there is a general delay. That doesn't mean you have to accept that. So you keep going and you keep fighting for yourself. There are a lot of studies as well, which is probably what Emory is trying to get you into, to kind of help you with some of the things where there's a gap, but there's probably a waiting list or something like that. It's usually through a neurologist. And either a neurologist, a neuropsychologist, or a neuropsychiatrist will be the ones to give the diagnosis. And then from there, they'll try to find out more information, more specifics, things like that. And then there are different types of tests, so brain scans and different versions of the brain scans to identify more. Blood tests are being done now as well to kind of hone in on exactly what it is. But fight for yourself. And if you need somebody to fight with you, there are people to do that as well.
Okay, we have another question over here.
Hello, everyone. I'm a part of the sandwich generation, if you would. And so both of our parents, I say our, I'm an identical twin, are going through some of the cognitive changes. One of the challenges I've found to be huge, my mother, who really is definitely taking a cognitive decline and has been diagnosed with some form of dementia. So I will ask what kind. Thank you for that. The problem is she doesn't want to have dementia. And she is livid that we, my twin sister and me, forced the doctors to give her medication now that is for dementia or symptoms of Alzheimer's, etc. And now she can't get certain things because it's part of her medical history. She has cut us off completely. Completely. She has given away her entire life savings to someone in Africa. She is dealing with all kinds of different people, changed her locks, her banks, everything. We have no knowledge of anyone she's engaging with, etc., because we are not the boss of her. And she can do her own things. Cut off all the bill payer. So we'll be finding out about bills when we find out about bills, because she can just write checks like she used to. I'm saying all this to say we're struggling with the resistance, the combativeness, and she even told us that she would go so far as to protect herself because she does carry. So we best not come to her house. She will protect herself if we try to. We don't know what to do. Like we went and we got the we went and got everything in emergency. We haven't been able to implement anything because she does not, she's not engaging us. So it's just very scary. So I'm sorry, I'm giving y'all TMI, y'all. But so what might you suggest people do when they're being, what's a first or second step that we could do besides pursuing the power of attorney? We can't implement it if she doesn't let us engage her. So do you have any recommendations for us?
I would say an elder law attorney. Definitely starting there. Robin, I don't know if you have some information or suggestion. Yeah, and Robin, again, is from the Alzheimer's Association. Go to an elder law attorney. Stay close. Take care of you. Pray. My mother was the same way. We had to really manipulate a lot of things to get my mother to move out of her house into another house. You have to stay close. And if there are weapons in the house, for those of you who are not at this point, get them out. Driver's license, when we had to take his driver's license away, there's a way that you can write the state and have an evaluation done without you knowing, anonymously. But that's the best thing. You're doing the best thing. You're doing all that you know how to do. Stay on your knees. God, I'm telling you, my sister, as a living witness, there are things that you don't understand, that we cannot figure out, that it looks totally impossible. God's word is true. He will send somebody to you. He will call you. Calling the Alzheimer's Association, they have a senior consultant, if the elder attorney doesn't work, and asking them if they have any recommendations. Keep trying. Stay close to your mama. Stay close on your knees and stay close. Bring your family closer together and get ready, because there is going to come a time that she is going to open the door, but prayer works. And I know that's doesn't really feel like definitive, but it works.
I would also say, since she doesn't like you right now,
Yeah.
find someone she likes
Yes.
and have them relay the same thing that you would relay, because she would hear it differently.
Absolutely.
But definitely think her safety first. No, your safety first,
Yeah.
but also consider her safety as well, because you can't take care of her if you don't take care of yourself. But especially when it comes to, having weapons and things like that, because if those things are happening, in her brain, she doesn't really know right from wrong. She's in a process. Like, I don't know where she is in that process, but things can change quickly. And she might, when you mentioned people seeing themselves in the mirror, they don't sometimes see themselves in the mirror. Or if they see their vision is changing and they see something out of that periphery and she goes to get her gun, now she's You know what I mean? It's a safety issue. So you want to think about that. We don't like to talk about putting our family members in homes and having them cared for by someone else. And our families are so independent. I'm good, I'm fine, but you have to think about what's going to be best as well. So my aunt was in a facility for a few years because no one could do anything for her, and it was hard to do. In the documentary, I talk about how my uncle and my aunt were in the same facility, and they didn't know each other. It's hard, but it was nothing that we could do for them any longer. So we're only a detriment to them, and if we're watching them quickly decline and we can't do anything, it becomes a detriment to us as well. So you have to look at creative ways of trying. Definitely stay in prayer, because that's never going to change. Like, you got to stay committed to that. But then also try different things, try different people. I would say, definitely that as well.
Absolutely. The one thing that just came to me, maybe an emergency injunction to get your mother evaluated, putting her in a mental hospital. That's one of the ways that they had to evaluate my husband. He resisted. His family threatened to call the police on me. They were in another state. We've been married for over 30 years. I'm trying to help this man that I love. They threatened to call the police on me. Do not, what other people think of you is none of your business. You take care of your mama, you do what you know you're supposed to do, but that could be something else, just to get an evaluation, and that might be a place with the elder attorney law.
Okay, we have another question in the back of the room, and then we're going to come back to the front of the room.
Well, thank you so much for this great information. But you mentioned in your presentation about the risk factors, and I have one of those risk factors of sudden loss of hearing. And so could you speak to that?
Yeah, so with all the risk factors, including hearing, vision, stomach problems that just seem to pop up, all of these things are connected. What you want to do, though, is to monitor it. If it is continually getting worse, you want to continually get it checked out. So don't wait for your annual checkup if you know that it's getting worse, because it could be a sign of something else going on. Inflammation is another big risk factor. If you know that there's some inflammation in your body, whether it's your joints or different things like that, you want to monitor those things. And if it progressively gets worse, you want to get them checked out. You want to see what it is that is happening, because it could be connected to something else. So don't overlook it. Don't stress yourself like my mother did. I got all of that, I'm about to die. Like, calm down. You don't want to do that, because then you increase the stress portion of that risk factor and other things. But you want to stay on top of it and do it more. And if you feel yourself like, if you're forgetting things, start documenting that. If it starts happening regularly, go talk to somebody. So that's what you don't want to wait until it gets worse, and then it's too late to do anything. You want to be able to stay on top of it. So that's with your vision, your hearing, your speech, any change that you see in your body, you want to start paying attention and start talking about it.
So I'm in the Parkinson's world, and there's some parallels. I'm wondering if there's a comprehensive care unit at Emory or some of the medical centers that maybe could be useful in the care of people with dementia, because then they can integrate like health, like functional medicine all in one. And I wonder if there's some center of excellence for dementia that could help in the expediting the diagnosis if the patient is there.
Yeah, so as she mentioned, Emory has one of the Alzheimer's disease and related dementias, whatever the acronyms are for it. They are one of, I think, 60, 70 centers around the country. And they're one of the leaders. And so they are a great hub. So you can actually go to their website and get information about their different studies. The Alzheimer's Association has a, what is it called? Trial match?
Right.
Community resource finder as well. But I was talking about like research. But you can find different information about it, you're right, there's a link with Parkinson's. There's actually a Parkinson's with dementia. So that once you have that diagnosis, they start looking, at that as well to see if it can be something in addition to just the one. But they're definitely one. I would say start with Marie.
All right, we got time for one more question.
Hello. My question is, I know we discussed that dementia symptoms can be reduced or possibly eliminated. My question is Alzheimer's, if it's early onset, is it reversible? Or have you heard of it being reversible?
Okay, so I'm not a medical doctor. Disclaimer that was in the beginning. Alzheimer's is not reversible. However, when you start changing your lifestyle, you slow the progression. So there have been studies that says you can add 7 years to your life by changing your lifestyle, those risk factors. I believe the time is coming where it will be, and I think it will be soon. There are reversible types of dementia that's contributed by medication, depression symptoms, UTIs, things like that mimic dementia. So once it's determined exactly what the problem is, some of those things can be reversed. But Alzheimer's, Lewy body dementia, Parkinson's, none of those can be reversed at this time. But you can slow the progression. And so if you have a diagnosis, you want to be able to maintain the quality of life for as long as you can. And you do that by changing those risk factors, modifying those risk factors.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, guys. Ms. Linda, Michelle, Chuck, thank you so much. We really appreciate you all for coming out here to the Riverside EpiCenter this afternoon to deliver some wonderful information. And everyone else out here, give yourselves a round of applause and a pat on the back for showing up, for coming here, having the desire to want to be able to get this information, which is why we do this here at the Riverside EpiCenter. Our slogan here is empowering people and inspiring communities, and that is what we try to do here every day. This event happens every third Tuesday of the month. So we always have something that we want to be able to give back to our communities that we're able to for you all to be able to go share and go tell somebody else and tell somebody else. Because information like this is very, very, very important. Before I make all my few announcements, I also want to acknowledge one of our sponsors here today. Her name is Candace is still here. I don't know if she left or not. Oh, she left the table? Okay, well, she had a really, really wonderful information for you all, but check out LifeLink of Georgia, everybody. LifeLink of Georgia is the organization that encourages everyone to go sign the back of their driver's license for organ and tissue donation. That is also very, very important for our community as well. We are the largest group of people that are always on somebody's donor list, and there's so few of us, or not enough of us, shall I say, that are not signed up to be donors, when most likely it is one of us that's likely to be a match for another one of us. So that's very, very important. So that's what we do here. And then once again, thank you, Dr. Christopher Boyd, our general manager here at the Riverside EpiCenter. Thank you, Dr. Yvonne Amos, for her 55-plus mixer. We really appreciate each and every one of you. Don't forget, tonight is $2 Tuesdays from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. right here in our bowling alley. Tomorrow is Senior Bowl from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. And, of course, coming up on Friday is Juneteenth. We have an amazing block party and tons of activities planned for the community. And, of course, Sunday is Father's Day, and Dad will bowl free in the bowling alley here for Father's Day. And if you feel like you need to give blood, Lifeblood is upstairs. You can go give blood as well. Thank you all so much. We really, really appreciate you all. This will be available on YouTube here soon. And don't forget, if you have not gone to go vote yet today is also Election Day. Make sure you go out and vote. Once again, thank you for coming to the Riverside EpiCenter. Follow us on all things social at Riverside EpiCenter. Visit our website, riversideepicenter.com. And once again, thank you so much.